Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we hold real conversations with community that needs to be heard. On today's episode, I have the honor of speaking with Jourdan. Jourdan is someone that I'm truly not fairly familiar with in the online space, but I know that as soon as I reached out to Jourdan and asked her if she would like to be a guest on this new platform that is the Chronically Will podcast, on more than one occasion, we agreed to a time. And thank you, Jourdan. I truly appreciate you for joining me in this space. Could you please give our community an introduction on who you are?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Jourdan Schwartz. In the sort of online or social media world, I really started out uh, being like a food blogger. I would share recipes or going out to eat in the local Atlanta area, sharing different bites and even small businesses. That social platform or presence kind of transformed more into like a lifestyle platform, and just me being more open and transparent about my journey with type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed a bit later at 18, so I've been type 1 for about 12 years now, and really just excited to be on this podcast, share my story, and also um, I'm like so grateful and thankful that you've kind of encouraged me to get more involved with sort of, our community. So thank you for having me.
Well, I'm here to gift everyone in our community their flowers. This is a space
Mhm.
where you can be unapologetically yourself, but you thanked me. You're truly welcome. This space is not just for me, it's for all of us.
Mhm.
You know, there are so many truths behind living with type 1 diabetes that the everyday person don't get to see, don't get to witness, truly don't embody,
Yeah.
because this journey is something we've embarked on that, I mean, it was not of our own liking or choosing, but with anything that's thrown your way, initially, you may not be at the best at managing it, taking it on,
Mhm.
just like a new sport. But I'm sure today you are better than 12 years ago.
Yeah. I was most definitely like the poster child for what you should not do when you are diagnosed with type 1. It was like my freshman year of college. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I was truly in denial about it, trying to ignore it. Um, in and out of the hospital for ketoacidosis, and really had had to have a come to Jesus moment to get my life together at a certain point. But
You had to sit down and have that one-on-one.
things have definitely changed and gotten better 12 years later. I like look back in time and I'm like, how was I walking around operating with how high my blood sugar was in the beginning?
No, it was a new diagnosis. So like I would never ever say that anyone with a new diagnosis is bad. You weren't
Mhm.
bad. You weren't bad at it. You are amazingly you at it, because anyone that gets that diagnosis today, unless they have a direct connection to it, like
Mhm.
in your household, you may have like if you have a sibling you grew up with or a parent,
Yeah,
unless you have that direct connection, then I mean you're being adjusted and pulled into a storm that's
yeah.
like, I mean, you have every natural disaster rolled into one in this ball called diabetes. Like, it's throwing darts at you that you cannot escape. And
Yeah.
no matter what we do or did during that time of initial diagnosis, Like we just tried.
Mm-hmm.
We tried. I remember growing up and having like remote control cars and things. And when the batteries would die out, I would just try to like switch the batteries around to see if see if it still worked. Like
Yeah.
we did that with electronics. And I take that like diabetes is similar to that on that initial diagnosis. Like you don't know. So you're just trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
Just like those batteries in that remote control car. You did
Mm-hmm.
like we do whatever we can to stay alive, even if that means diabetes and insulin is going to be a band-aid for a while
Yeah.
until we truly understand what it is to live with and manage what is type 1 diabetes.
It is interesting that you said, I love your call out of like, if you don't grow up with maybe a parent or sibling who had it, it's hard to know or like have a vision of what like your day-to-day management of type 1 looks like. But interestingly enough, in my family, there were a lot of type 2 diabetics on my father's side. So that's like a funny balance of like your family members sort of like talking to you about their management and what they've been through, and it's kind of it is slightly different. And for me it was just I don't even know like where to start with my diagnosis. I had sort of like a I would say like a traumatic incident happened in college that I think kind of like spiked type 1 coming about in me. I don't know if you've had conversations with other people who maybe something traumatic happened in their lives and then they were like diagnosed.
Most people that I've come across that were diagnosed in teen years, early
Mhm,
20s or whatsoever later on in life, most of them have had some type of traumatic experience that occurred
mhm,
like directly towards them. Like whether it was like I mean people that actually had violent acts happen
mhm.
to them, had emotional traumas that affected them.
Yeah.
People that have lost housing, shelter, had a family member or close friend that passed. All of those things, any form of trauma, whether it's physical or mental, can alter your body
Mhm.
forever
Yeah.
because it's a direct connection between mental health and physical health. So whether
Yeah.
you had the flu or you were involved in some type of physical um, altercation or
Mhm.
even like mentally you were maybe depressed, high anxiety, all those types of traumas do
Yeah.
directly affect.
Yeah. Um, and so for me, like after I had an incident happen in college, I went to a primary care doctor who was like, your blood sugar is really high. They put me on like metformin and I really didn't take it seriously. I was like, okay, whatever. This can't be real, an 18-year-old. And then we go back to that doctor a month later and they take my blood sugar and it's just like off the charts. Like the doctor's saying, we don't even know how you're like functioning right now. Um, so just really thinking it back to that time, it was really challenging because like I shared with you, most people in my family were type 2 because I was slightly older. It was just a back and forth with am I type 1 or type 2. I can't recall the exact test that was done to show that, my pancreas really truly couldn't
Produce
produce
insulin.
insulin, but
I'm sure it was either a C-peptide or maybe a GAD, auto antibody test. And
mhm,
yeah, And I'm sure being 18 and diagnosed and you having all these family members who are type 2, I equally have a bunch of type 2. Not until more
Mhm.
recently, like the last few years, I found out that I had do have many type 1s as well. It's
Mhm.
just it's just to them it was just diabetes.
Yeah.
There was no true understanding of one versus the other. And we
Yeah.
know today, if you have a better understanding of one versus the other, it does mean like different ways of managing to have longevity
Mhm.
in life.
Yeah. And I think also when that happened, me and my mother were like, was my blood sugar ever tested my whole childhood? You know, when we thought back on road trips and different things where I did have to use the bathroom more often than other people in the car. Um, I think just maybe over my whole childhood because I didn't have any extreme symptoms and I was someone who played a lot of sports that it might have gone, you know, undiscovered all that time. So it was really just like a swirl of confusion at the time.
Um, Look, I believe that because I know people that have had like long honeymoons or like a lot of where they didn't fully develop type 1 diabetes until 12 to 15 years later.
Yeah.
So like you said, like you were 18 when you were diagnosed, you may have had 5 to 10 years where symptoms were peaking in, were like
Mm,
really just showing their head
yeah.
and that's it. But I mean, we did not know that there were certain auto antibodies you could be tested for or checked
Hmm.
for to determine if you would develop this.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of our elders have never had auto antibody testing to see if they truly are type 1 or type 2,
Hmm.
because many of them have been insulin dependent from their onset.
Yeah.
So I don't want to dive much into that traumatic experience, but
Hmm.
I must say that like I was diagnosed at 20 years old,
Hmm.
21 years ago. So I do know that like I didn't have the same traumatic experience as yourself,
Hmm.
but I was living through a bunch of trauma. My parents were having like in and out of like trying to figure out if they were going to stay together, lost their house. My sister was young, about to have a baby. My younger brother was still in school, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to help him along in his journey while I'm also in post-secondary education. And me and my younger brother were living in a hotel for a while after my parents lost their housing. And a week after like moving into a house, I started having all of the symptoms. And also during that time, my grandmother had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer.
Mm.
So it was just like trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. And I won't ever say that that trauma forced my type 1 to occur, but
Hmm.
it was just the icing on top of the cake, you know?
Yeah.
Everything was already there. Some people get the flu or any
Yeah.
other type of virus, and it impedes the process of autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
We got that traumatic experience, which
Mm.
is equally as bad, or if not even worse.
Yeah.
That's something that we can never get rid of, like mentally.
And I think sometimes I even like think back or wonder like if I had avoided that circumstance, would I still have been type 1 at some point later in my life? But just one of those you never know. But it is interesting just type 1 being spurred or brought on by traumatic experiences or a sickness or anything like that because it's not something that doctors really talk about. I feel like that's something I discovered on like a Facebook group. Um, I don't think it's really brought up a lot with doctors or like in the scientific community.
Look, nothing about type 1 is brought up with doctors or in the scientific community.
Yeah.
Like even when you see like, I mean, via Instagram, I always see like these different events pop up that normally we don't get ticketed to. Like I'm the type 1 diabetic. Where's my ticket?
Hmm.
But when those events do pop up, I always think about like all of these people are there, but or I know like my endocrinologist isn't there.
Hmm.
My general practitioner isn't there. My diabetes educator is not there. So I often wonder like how do they construct these organizations and these meetings when there are people that I mean literally that look like you and I
Hmm.
that have our own educational background and experience, but we also have a medical team that needs to also advance in their careers so that they can help better the control and management and assist us in education. Like, why aren't they being given the ticket to these events as well?
You said a whole what
Oh,
show?
a whole show, right? Because I'm always like, okay, this happened. Now what?
Yeah.
How is it going to impact our community directly to better the advancements that are technological, insulins, all of those things.
Yeah.
So, you said you didn't say that you were the only one in your family with type 1. You said there's many type 2s. Or is there anyone else in your family with type 1 that you know of?
That I know of, no. I am the only one. And honestly, when I was diagnosed, I was so angry, like, I guess at my father or like at my family, sort of like, why am I the one with type 1? Like, not to bash my family, but there's other family members who, not to be stereotypical, but maybe are more overweight or just the things that you would assume a diet happens to you in order to become diabetic. And I was just very depressed at the time, like wondering why, out of everyone, the genetic lottery, that I was the one to end up with type 1.
That was a Mega Millions.
Yeah. It
Powerball, like the jackpot.
literally seems so rare, but I think you said earlier a lot of our elders like aren't getting certain tests and things to see. Maybe they are late onset type 1 and we'll just never know. But I'm like, why, God, am I the only young person in my family to have type 1? So
Right. And you didn't want to hear anyone say, "Oh, because you're so well off, you can handle this, you're educated,
yeah,
you can easily adapt to things and you're going to warrior through this." No, take it
yeah.
away. Take it away. It's because of y'all that I have this. Is that like
Mhm.
that was part of the thought at that time, right?
It was most definitely the thought. And speaking of like family encouragement, my mom, I would say she's like spiritual and also religious, and she would just tell me, you got to believe that God can heal you. And and I get where she was coming from like a your faith perspective that it is possible that you can be healed, but dealing with the day to day at the time, I'm like, Mom, I need insulin. Like maybe God can heal me, but it's not happening today.
Right. That's
um
more of a spiritual
mhm.
healing, not the physical healing. Like we know
Yeah.
that I saw something on Facebook just last night where a mom had posted something in a large Facebook group about going to church and her baby who's like 2 years old who has type 1 diabetes, like she showed her at the pew like praying and she's like, we're praying for healing with this type 1 diabetes journey. And I didn't comment on it, but just reading
Mhm.
through the comments, it was like, wow, because there were so many people, like it was like one way or another. Some people were like, yes, you need to teach your baby like the spirituality that God can help you healing in any journey or anything you embark on.
Mhm.
And people and many people who were young, who were diagnosed when they were young, responded and replied with, my parents tried to do that to me and it was the worst thing ever. They
Mm, yeah.
said, because mentally I kept thinking, why did God give this to me? Could they say
Mhm.
God giveth and God can take it away? And they were like, it was the absolute worst thing to ever think about growing up. Like you see kids out here playing freely and doing whatever they wanted. And I'm like,
Mhm.
and God gave this to me.
Yeah.
So like, I couldn't put myself into that conversation because it's more, I mean, diabetes, we know for the majority of it, like we do have similarities in our care and on all of those things, but like as far as faith, spirituality, our mental well-being, we're all totally different.
For sure. Um, and I think I could see why a lot of kids, well, first off, speaking of like being a kid with type 1, sadly, like I am happy or grateful that I wasn't diagnosed with diabetes as a child because I can't imagine how hard that is for like kids and teens. I'm married, so my husband, one of his younger cousins, she's I think about 7 years old, and she was diagnosed with type 1. And so that has been like an experience just being there for her and her mom, like telling her mom about different equipment like the Omnipod, but also seeing her mom be stressed when she's at school and her blood sugar is low, or we're at a family event and she wants to have something to eat, but her blood sugar is high, just like et cetera, all the things that can happen with a child. I think, I too was like angry, like, why, God, would you give me this? Not really seeing where my mom was coming from. I think as I've gotten older and my spirituality has grown and I've been through things with diabetes, outside of diabetes, that has like forced me to like lean on my faith. I kind of have a little bit better of an understanding of where my mother was coming from because I think for a lot of adults and people, they've been through really tough things that God gave them the strength to power through. But as a child, it's just like, no.
Right. How do you power through this as a
Yeah.
child?
I, hmm
How do you power through the toughest storm ever?
Yeah.
The darkest storm ever. Like seriously, like I would not, I mean, I have 3 children
hmm
and my kids are a bit older now, 15, 13, and 10. But I remember like looking over them and like really talking to God and hoping
hmm
and wishing that my children would not ever get type 1. And I've
Yeah.
got them checked for the auto antibody markers and none of them have them.
It really is.
And
You're blessed. Like that's a blessing, but it's. I feel like it's hard to even say that out loud. Like,
I know because other people that their children may get it and you
Mhm.
live with it.
Yeah.
So like my daughter who's 13, she's in 7th grade. Yesterday, like I coach her track team, 22
hmm
girls at a private school. And yesterday, one of the young ladies was doing, or no, a group of young ladies were doing the long jump. And as I'm standing in the pit watching them do the long jump, I see a young boy who's lined up, and he has like a fanny pack on his waist. And then I look,
Mhm.
and I saw a Dexcom on the back of his arm.
Mhm.
And as I'm walking him over with the girls, I approached him. He was probably like 13, 14 years old. And I said, Sorry to insert myself here, but I must acknowledge you." I said, "I am a type 1 diabetic of 21 years." And this young boy was so excited. He was like, "For real? For real?" And he was like, I said, "Yes." And I showed him my CGM and my
Mhm.
pump. And he was like, "Wow." And I said, "How long have you been diagnosed for?" He said, 3.5 weeks.
Mm.
3.5 weeks, Jordan.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I just told him, I said, just know with this new diagnosis, you just gained a superpower. You've gained the ability to understand science, medicine, more so than any of your peers, more
Yeah.
than probably 95% of the world population.
Mhm.
Like, this is something that you got and you're going to own it. And as soon as he was done, his jump, and I saw him run out the gate over to his father. Look, I darted across the field. I hopped over the fence, and I said, he had already told his dad that he met me. And
Mhm.
I said, "My name is Will. I'm a type 1 diabetic of 21 years. I must introduce myself to you. I must let you know the things that I am doing in the T1D space and and the community, because I need to let you know that your child may be limited in some things, but he's going to gain so much more in this life living with type 1 diabetes than other children will not be able to gain.
Yeah.
I do not wish this upon anyone, but just know you have an amazing child and he has an amazing support system, and y'all are going to be able to proud through this." Like,
Yeah. I mean, I love like your perspective on it, and what you said to him was so real because you do have like a deeper understanding of health, wellness, science, taking care of yourself. Even when I go to get my eyes checked and I'm just there with like a bunch of much older people in the waiting room, like just I'm 30 now, but I'm way more in tune with my body and going to the doctor, period,
mhm.
than like many other of my friends. So it's it can be a blessing in certain aspects of life.
I know for us as adults living with it, it's a
Mhm.
lot less blessings and more of the heartache and the
Yeah.
pain. I do know that, but speaking to a child newly
Mhm.
diagnosed and his parents, that's an experience that I don't want him to have to live through and go through, but he's going to have to.
Yeah. I think I just like with children, I think of like going through puberty and like their body changes and dealing with, your blood sugar management on top of all of that. Can be challenging.
Very challenging. Just think, a seventh grader. Just imagine yourself as a seventh grade girl. All of
Mhm.
the hormonal fluctuations you are going through, growing. I mean, most seventh grade girls swear that they're grown, but
Yeah.
just add type 1 diabetes into that.
Mhm.
I was talking to someone last week about that. I said, that's just like handing a 13-year-old a baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to figure this out. Like, no, it's a whole new life.
Mhm.
Now, you said that you currently live in the Atlanta area. Is that where you're from?
No, I'm from New Jersey, actually.
New
What
Jersey.
about you? I heard a little like north, up north.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm from the Philadelphia area, like right
Okay.
outside of Philadelphia in northern Delaware.
Is that where you live now?
Yep.
Oh,
So
awesome.
probably about 25 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And you're from, let me guess, more middle Jersey.
What a diss. I'm from
You
North
you from
Jersey,
North Jersey? Where?
Essex County,
Essex County, East Orange.
Maplewood. Have you heard of
Essex County.
Maplewood?
Yes, I actually recorded with someone who's from there. A young lady named Jen.
Okay.
Yep, Essex County. Oh, and she's in your age group, 30,
Oh,
29, 30. I'm gonna have to
mhm.
connect you with her. Y'all may know each other.
That would be
May
great.
may have passed each other in your previous lifetime before diabetes.
Right. And I will also say, like, in terms of connecting with other like type 1 diabetics or like building community around that, I really haven't done the best job. Like, it is something that I would want to do. I would say, like, touching on children, being a child versus being an adult, having type 1. I know there's like a bunch of camps and like group activities for children. I would say in adulthood, it's something that I want to put more time and effort into because I really don't have any like close type 1 diabetic friends.
Understood.
Yeah.
Uh, until the pandemic, I really didn't reach out to any type 1 diabetics because at the beginning stages of the pandemic, we were all trying to figure it out. And that's what made me like form groups. So
Hmm.
you're in the Atlanta area. I know that you aren't on. I have so I started an Atlanta group
Okay.
last year because a young lady had reached out needing insulin.
Hmm.
And I found like 50 different people from Atlanta and I started a Atlanta T1D group, all people of color. So I'm going to send you an invite to that group.
Yeah.
Find your people.
I'm a people. I'm looking forward to that. But speaking of like friends, there, I do have one actually type 1 diabetic friend. His name is Don, and
Don
we work
Kirk.
out. Yeah. And we shout out to Don. We work out at a gym together, and he has been like such a solid type 1 friend. Going back to like, so last year, last fall was crazy for me. Um, like my well, the last 6 months of last year. My grandmother died. I got laid off from in August. I got laid off from my job in September. And then I was getting married in October, having a wedding. So it was just like a lot going on. And me getting laid off, of course, I tried to like stockpile all of my medication and devices and everything. And I am on like a CGM and a pump, and it's really just hard anytime I've had issues with any of with my like pump going out, switching back to like needles is hard to manage. So I was still trying to, you know, keep the systems that I was using. And Don and I, we work out together at F45. And of course, when I saw him in class, I was like, oh, you're a type 1. And we connected over that. And I think there was just like a week or a time period when I needed, I don't know, it was either Dexcom or Omnipods, and it was just going to cost so much. And Don was like, hey, I have like a bunch. Here you go. And I literally came home and I was like getting emotional, like overwhelmed. I probably was crying and like thanking God like for Don. And I probably need to like tell him this because I'm not sure if I said thank you, profusely, but I don't even know if he knows like how much of a blessing he was in my life at a time where like I needed that to live. And so I think I had said before, I don't have many type 1 friends, but he is a friend. Um, and I'm so appreciative of him helping me out at a time where he probably just saw it as like, oh, no big deal, but to me was everything.
Look, Don's your friend.
Hmm.
Don's my friend. But like Don did something for you that like it's something I'm really trying to build in this community. I don't know, like I've built many different like groups
Hmm.
where people can like talk about living with diabetes, but that's also so if you're ever in need of supplies,
Hmm.
who else to go to than another person living with type 1 diabetes? Like that's your best, like I mean, that's the next best thing to actually having your prescriptions in hand and in front of you
Yeah.
at like zero expense because many people do get an overflow of supplies or they switch from one insulin pump, one CGM to another CGM.
Hmm.
Like, so people do have that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I highly recommend reaching out to the community because you'll find people like Don who are
Hmm.
willing to do whatever it takes to lessen the burden that is living with type 1 diabetes for people like yourself, Jordan and
Hmm.
Don. This platform is all about recognizing who we are as people living with type 1 diabetes, but also just a platform just to show our support, our love, admiration for each other, and be unapologetically ourselves. So, Don, right here, I'm going to give you your flowers, brother. Even though every time you come through the area and you be like, when I come through, I'm gonna hit you up.
Life gets busy.
I know, but like Don is literally from like the same neck of the woods
Hmm.
as me. And he knows next time you're in town, Don, hit me up because I'm going to give you your flowers in person, brother.
Small world.
Yeah, it's a small world, but it's a big world with people living with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, it's talking about like exchanging things. One time I was at dinner and with the waitress, and I think like her Omnipod or Dexcom, one or the other, she needed to switch it out. It didn't have one, and I had an extra one in my purse, and I was just like, "Here, you can have this. Like, I'm good." And she was just so. I think it's great to be on like the receiving end and the giving side of it because it can be tough dealing with like medication management and like insurance and stuff. So my husband, he tore his Achilles tendon last year. So it was really he had to have surgery. So it was his first experience really, contacting health insurance, dealing with the real like medical bills, stuff like that. And I think he had observed me being on the phone, like almost to the point of tears sometimes with coverages and calling people and prior authorizations and all of that. But I think we kind of talked about this earlier, how having type 1 just exposes you to so much like more about this world. And I just like medication management, calling insurances, all that stuff. It used to just drive me, I don't know if crazy, but I would just think like, why are there so many barriers just to like getting medication? Or it's sad to me how even having access to like a pump or a CGM is seen as a luxury almost. I'm very grateful to be in the position to be able to use a pump and a CGM because a lot of people aren't. So that's just a thought on my mind sometimes.
um, Access to equipment in itself is just a whole nother topic. Like
Hmm.
just knowing that your husband tore his Achilles. When was that last year you said?
Last April.
And also it's been a full year. Is he
Yeah, so
married?
he's walking in good now.
Okay. Okay. So he's not a professional basketball player.
No, no.
Cause some like that's like a 2-year injury.
Hmm.
So him having to navigate what is health insurance. knowing that that's something you've had to navigate for the previous, at that time, 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, I mean, we only do not wish diabetes upon anyone else, but there's so many other obstacles in place for us to stay alive with diabetes, such as
Yeah.
the insulins, such as the insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, the insulin manufacturers, the equipment and technology, gaining access to it. So many things that aren't gifted to us, because
Mm-hmm.
many people from the outside looking in, they see us as these, I mean, physically well people.
Mm-hmm.
But diabetes in itself plays a heavy toll, not only on us physically, but mentally. Like,
Yeah.
who else in a year's time has spent maybe 20 plus hours on the phone with customer service of some sort?
Yeah.
That becomes draining and daunting. I truly dislike talking to customer service. Like, I think everyone does, but I mean, I never use that word hate, but I truly dislike talking to customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And when other people say that, like, oh, me too, I don't like customer service either. Give me your customer service any day.
Experience.
Do you have to go while your blood sugar is going low or going high? Have you, like, they don't understand this when you like having to contact customer service when your blood sugar is going low or high, and you have to let them know like something's wrong with your CGM or your
Yeah.
pod or whatever. And then they ask, okay, what's the serial number?
Mm-hmm.
What's the
That's in the
lot?
trash.
Yeah, what's the lot number? When did you insert it? Just last week I went through this dispute, and then after 38 minutes of being on a call, I told the customer service agent, I said, I'm a person living with a chronic health condition that is type 1 diabetes, and it plays a heavy toll on me both physically and mentally. I refuse to answer any more of these questions. Can you please just send me a sensor?
Mm.
And she said, I understand. Okay.
You're like, why have I been on the phone all this time if this was the resolution?
Oh my.
Yeah.
I
I've
understand
been there
that.
before. I've been like, I'm going through it. Just give me what I need, please.
Just give me what I need, please. I know it may turn into all of us calling, trying to get what we need. I mean, I mean, who else are you going to give these supplies to?
Yeah.
Like, what's the hassle? I understand that it's a dog eat dog world and money is everything. I
Hmm.
understand that. But your time, our time versus like people not living with this chronic health condition, like when we look at our time, we're like, it's so valuable and valuable.
Hmm.
Like, there's, I mean, upon diagnosis, we think we're limited with time. Today, we know that as a type 1 diabetic, we can live a long life, just, I mean, very close to that of a non-diabetic.
Yeah.
And that's with the advancements in insulin and technology, things like that. So why can't I be gifted that?
Hmm.
Why do you, Jourdan, have to pay for insulin when any person you look to your left and right that does not have insulin dependent diabetes have insulin running through their body for free that interacts with the changes in uh hormones such
Yeah.
as stress, adrenaline. We need insulin when we sleep. Everyone else is getting it for free. Why do we have to decide on if we're going to have a certain thing to eat tonight
Hmm.
versus not eating at all, paying for shelter, getting a new car,
Hmm.
whatever, versus insulin?
Well, I think I read some statistic, and I can't remember the exact number, but it's like a diabetic or a type 1 diabetic thinks X amount of times a day about their diabetes management.
More than
Um,
180.
yeah, something. Yes, that's the number. And it's a lot. And I think for me, like I love our conversation and your acknowledgement of like how tough it can be and like the challenges that we do face. I think one, I don't know if I would categorize it as denial, but I often kind of play off or play down, like minimize how much like I'm dealing with. And it's something that has come up with my friends who are not type 1 diabetics. I haven't done the best job of educating them in the past, like, okay, if my blood sugar is going low, this is what needs to be done when it's going high. And it's something that like I'm working on doing with friends and family, just because, like you said, because it's something that is unseen. Like oftentimes there'll be friends who'll say to me, "Oh, like I forget that you have diabetes," um, which for me, I think it is something I'm working on, just like being more, living more out loud with.
No two people living with type 1 diabetes are the same.
Hmm.
So the way you go about that approach compared to even me will be different. Not in like seriously, like not until the pandemic was I, even after at that time 17 years living with type 1 diabetes, was I outspoken about my
Hmm.
diabetes. I mean, today people are like, I can tell. You can tell when people are like, oh, they talk about that too much. Oh,
You feel
I
like people are saying, I feel that way about you?
oh, definitely, definitely. Family, friends. So you know what I do? I'm keep talking about it.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to share with you this one thing that helped change me and even my friends and family understanding of type 1 diabetes. I don't know if you're familiar with the Juice Box podcast.
Hmm. I've heard of it.
So the Juice Box podcast is by far the number one type 1 diabetes resource in the world.
Hmm.
By far. So there's an episode called Explaining Type 1 Diabetes, and it breaks down everything about speaking about it to friends, families, coaches, co-workers, all of those things. So like during the pandemic, when like people like us didn't know what our next move was,
Hmm.
I shared that episode with everyone I knew because actually living through it and explaining it are two different things.
Yeah,
Like it's so many feels. Like we feel so many different ways at any given time. So it's hard to truly explain that to someone.
yeah.
It's a lot. Um, you said again, you're in Atlanta. Your family's still in Jersey?
My mom is up there, but my dad, he's down here and remarried.
Okay, okay. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I do have a sister, but she's in Ohio. Most of my actually family is in Dayton, Ohio.
Look, I thought most of your family was in Jersey.
No, no, we're
You're in
all
Atlanta.
over.
You're all over. Do have anyone else in your family ever asked you like things such as what were your symptoms upon diagnosis and should I like look for things in my child or any
Mm,
of those things?
not really my family, but definitely friends have come to me like, you know, I'm having these symptoms. And I think in the past, I was maybe a little irritated. Like, I'm not a doctor or Google, but like as I've gotten older, I definitely am more open to like speaking on, okay, these are my symptoms. Here are some resources. Maybe you should ask your doctor, to test you. Have you gone in for a, what do you call it? Not a wellness check. Your like annual physical and done like a fasting blood sugar. So like nowadays, yes, friends do ask, but not really family. I think because my family, like we said before, everyone's just like a type 2. So maybe a lot of them expect to become type 2 diabetics when they get older.
I mean, it's good that you do have that friendship group because you mentioned them multiple times. It sounds like they want to know more,
Yeah, they
but
want to know more.
it's
It's
more
more like me being
it's
like, get out of my business. I don't want to share
it's truly
my
hard.
number with
It's
you.
it's truly hard. Like it's hard to explain it.
Hmm.
Like if I didn't have diabetes right now and I asked you, like Jordan, could you explain to me what living with type 1 diabetes is? You
Hmm.
may go through like like a one pager, but there's gonna be so many excerpts that are missing
Hmm.
because as I tell people, type 1 diabetes is not 24/7.
Yeah.
It's non-stop. It's not 24/7, 365. It's non-stop. Right now, we're going through things with our diabetes.
Hmm.
We may be able to have this conversation, which may seem to normalize it and may seem like, okay, Jordan and Will are having this conversation. They're fine. Their diabetes isn't affecting them. Maybe they need to talk more. Maybe if they talk more, their diabetes won't affect them as much. No.
Hmm.
I mean, I haven't looked at my blood sugar, but look, it's peaking right now and it's at 170. I got to bring it back down. So
Hmm.
like because I know adrenaline. Having these conversations builds adrenaline
Yeah.
because it's like I don't know. I truly love and enjoy having these conversations because I love breaking barriers, especially when it comes to like my people. Not only do we both have diabetes, but we also have the lived experience of being people of color.
Yeah.
So many other things we're faced with, so many other stigmas that have been placed upon us. We have to break through those barriers as well. Like you're a black person with type 1 diabetes, you're not a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we check off on all of those things. Just
Hmm.
know, like any other health ailment, it can occur to anyone. There
Yeah.
are no race barriers within it. Um, diabetes does not have an age.
Hmm.
It's not if you're under 18, you can get type 1 diabetes. Just know that same person who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 70 years ago and they're still living today, guess what? They still have type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
They still have to take insulin. There's nothing we can do to get rid of that.
It's definitely a marathon. And I would say, like, so my father, he was so basically a lot of the type 2, my father has four brothers, like three out of four of them, maybe all of them were like type 2 diabetics. My dad has done a good job at like working out, like doing the things that he can do to not get type 2 diabetes or to get out of like the pre-diabetic ranges. And like our dynamic is interesting because he'll talk to me about like the things he's doing or how he's managing it. And I can't lie, like sometimes in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this is great. But like for me, it's forever. Um, and I think a lot of times online, I see a lot of like discussions or dialogues about being exclusive or like non-inclusive of type 2 diabetics, or kind of like how type 1 and type 2 are pitted together at times. But like living it out in real life, it is interesting. Like me and my dad's different experiences, you know?
I understand because my dad has type 2 diabetes. He's had it
Hmm.
since 1995. And he's right now he's on dialysis and things and like when we first talking about him with diabetes, he's always like, oh, like he would say like you got what I got.
Hmm.
But when he sees like what I go through on a day to day and managing and it's how it's nonstop, giving
Hmm.
insulin, how I have to have insulin running through my body, how I have to give it for every other adverse thing, even more than food. Like, and he's like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
So like even family members, they're like, oh, you got diabetes too?
Hmm.
Like, yes, I have diabetes too, but my type 1 diabetes is not equal to your type 2. Mine isn't better, yours isn't better. It's not
It's just
worse.
different.
It's not worse. Like we both have a chronic health condition that we have to manage. So I will never ever compare the two because I mean, just like with any other chronic health condition that I would not wish upon anyone, they're all different.
Yeah.
Though I did want to talk to you somewhat about like different stigmas with type 1 diabetes or with diabetes in general because you were diagnosed at 18 years old.
Hmm.
I'm picturing a 18-year-old fresh out of high school, freshman in college, you said. Now you've gotten this diagnosis and everyone may like people are wondering like what's going on with Jourdan? Where has
Hmm.
Jourdan been?
Yeah.
So that's a huge transitional process. Like you're grown now, no? Like you're your own adult. I mean, to your parents, you weren't grown, but you're your own adult at 18 and you're in college. How hard was it, or not how hard, but was it where did you have the ability at that time to tell people, I'm Jourdan, I'm 18, college student, and I'm living with diabetes?
No. So I definitely tried to ignore it, tried to hide it. I would not take my insulin for days, if not weeks. Like it was most definitely a trying time. My mother and father were really concerned. They would like ask me to text them pictures of my blood sugar just to show that I was checking it. Um, I think I shared with you earlier, I probably went to the hospital for DKA like 3 or 4 times. I guess like the first 4 to 5 years of my diagnosis because I would just literally not take insulin. And I was so skinny. And I think maybe just a few years ago, I came across like diabulimia. Um, and I don't know if if I had that, but like as a young woman, I was like, okay, I'm not taking my insulin and losing weight. I don't know. I was just so unhealthy. And it wasn't until I was babysitting for a woman who I think she might have actually been an endocrinologist or whatever she practiced. She was familiar with diabetes and she just like kept it real with me. She was like, Jourdan, you know, you don't want to have years to go by and you have to be on dialysis or having like things removed, body parts removed. She's like, if you don't get it together, like this is what your life is going to, how it's going to end for you. And I think maybe it took hearing something like that from someone outside of my mother or father that sort of made it real, made things click. And also, I think me getting access to like a pump and a CGM that also made like a major difference for me. But it wasn't until like I wanted to take care of my blood sugar could the change really happen. Like no matter how much my mom and dad wanted to help me, I just wasn't ready to make that change until I was, you know.
You weren't ready until you
Mhm.
was, and even today, like it's an adjustment. Like
Yeah,
you're still learning today. I mean, exactly like how you said, you're learning today how to directly communicate with people that you have type 1 diabetes. Like
yeah,
you have friends who want to know more. You have an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
to better your own understanding of what living with type 1 diabetes is. So take your time, have grace with it. Celebrate all of the things that you conquer while living with diabetes. You know, celebrate your ranges. Celebrate when you wake up and you see a unicorn. Jot that down, send someone a text, and then
Yeah.
they'll start understanding those little things. Like, oh, little things like that make Jourdan feel good
Yeah.
because they don't truly understand. Like those little things affect us in the long run. Like you met someone who told you, and this wasn't your doctor, it wasn't a family member.
Hmm.
They actually told you like these are the things that can and will occur.
Yeah.
It was no BS because we know that all of us go to doctors, all of us see endocrinologists or whoever, primary cares, and they all have a spill, like something to tell us.
Yeah.
And when we leave that office, we know they're giving the next person that same spill, having that same conversation. They probably had that same conversation 15 to 20 times in one day.
Yeah.
So to have someone who's not having that conversation every day tell you some of the things that you may have heard like in passing from a educator or endocrinologist,
Hmm.
it links you to like, oh, I guess that is real.
Yeah.
Like it's time for me to buckle down and do what's needed to be at my best.
Yeah. And I think, now if someone has a child or someone in their family who is newly diagnosed or maybe having a hard time with it, like I'm always more than willing to hop on the phone with them or just talk to them about my experience because I think for anybody, but especially like young people, it makes a difference to hear it from someone outside of that family or like doctor circle.
Right. Diabetes is like it directly affects relationships. It affects our relationships. Like if upon diagnosis, if we're not given the education right then and there, if someone's like, "Oh, we're going to wait and tell them about insulin to carb ratio. We're going to wait to tell them about different types of insulin. We're going to wait to tell them that they should pre-bolus for meals."
Hmm.
Like that truly affects us because if it's not all told right then and there, the importance of it dries down.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you said if I don't take insulin that I'll get sick and may die, may get complications. But you didn't like give me that blueprint on how I'm going to do these things.
Yeah.
Give me that one pager that tells me what to do to be at my best instead of me having to wait 3 months, 6 months, 12 months to get an understanding. Because at 12 months, you're telling me pre-bolus. I don't forgot what you told me at the first initial visit. I don't
Yeah.
forgot about what you told me at 3 months because it was all like a band-aid.
Hmm.
Like that's what diabetes was equally to me early on. I mean, it took 10 plus years before I truly understood my own diabetes, if not even more, because I thought that I was the only one living with type 1 diabetes for so long.
Mm.
Like seriously, especially a person of color. And then when I found people of color, then it was like a man, a black man.
Hmm.
Like we're a rare breed in this community, serious.
Yeah. I
But
think also like sometimes with like management in the beginning versus like what it evolves into. I think my blood sugar was so high for so long, I didn't even know like what my mind could feel like with my blood sugar in the right range. Like I guess a high feels different for everyone, but I just wasn't functioning at 100% efficiency. But sometimes if you've been living that way for so long, that is what becomes your norm, you know?
Right. It almost becomes innate.
Yeah.
Yeah, those high blood sugars over time, like your focus. You don't
Hmm.
even realize like you can't truly focus on things
Yeah.
until you go through another traumatic experience that brings you full circle and tells you your blood sugar is high.
Hmm.
And then once you get it a little lower, you start realizing like I'm able to actually see this world a little better.
Yeah.
Like I get some clarity into different things. And it's not even like your own health. You're like getting more clarity into the world. Like I'm able to actually hold these in-depth conversations that before I would have just blown off.
Yeah.
And that's living with type 1 diabetes. It's so much more than we can explain. Uh I still want to talk about relationships. So you're married, right?
Hmm. Yes.
1 year?
6 months.
6 months. Six
Six
months.
months.
Congratulations on this honeymoon. This isn't a diabetes honeymoon. It isn't. I've been married for it'll be 11 years in September. So
Congratulations.
thank you. Big congratulations on you. 6 months seems like a lifetime right now. Oh, I know those first 6 months. But it's great that you actually found someone who took you as you,
Yeah.
as a person living with type 1 diabetes and all of the obstacles that come with that. Because, I mean, you're not only his spouse, his friend, best friend, his mate, but you're like a new infant that was given to him also. Like, seriously.
He would say that. I for so long I didn't want him to have my Dexcom numbers on his phone, but I finally caved into him having it. And then I'll be out anywhere and he'll be like, blood sugar's a little high. What's going on? Like, I'm definitely like fortunate to have him in my life. He's someone who from the beginning was like wanting to learn about like diabetes, was a little bit of a learning curve. Like my blood sugar, I remember when we first were dating, would be low and he would go get like a Diet Coke. And I would say, okay, thank you, but this is not
like
how it works.
like what you want me to eat the plastic?
But yeah, he's definitely learned a lot since then. And I think, you know, in some of the diabetes groups I'm a part of on Facebook, sometimes I just read stories of people with not the most supportive partners
Mhm.
and think finding someone who's, you know, willing to take me as I am and understand it all is like just the greatest thing.
It is. It is the greatest thing, and I commend your husband on being the man that he is.
Mhm.
Like seriously, it does take a lot of mental solitude to be able to handle this.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to live through this. They don't have to. Our spouses don't have to, but they chose us.
yeah,
They truly chose us, and with choosing us, they decided that I'm going to take diabetes with it also because
yeah.
I had diabetes when I met my wife, and that was the one of the first conversations I had with her over a long phone call. Yes, I'm from that era where we spent hours on the phone until we fell asleep and woke up on the phone. And I told her, I said, I have type 1 diabetes. And she said, that's okay. Like literally, that's what she said. That's okay. And I knew from that moment on, like we would be okay. Yeah. So yeah, you will get your family and friends on that same level. It just
One day.
one day, uh, I'm gonna give you some things to share, all of those things, because living with type 1 diabetes is not something that you should have to spend so much time looking into.
Mhm.
We're already living with it and living through it, having to do all the research, having to share so much information. It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a burden in itself and can create burnout because you're like, why me? That's the big question we ask. Why me? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to go to the endocrinologist every 3 months? Why do I have to get blood work drawn every so often? Why do I have to contact at least 5 different customer service reps per week?
Yeah.
Why am I fighting for insurance? Why why hasn't my endocrinologist or my medical team shared with me how I can get access to my insulin, how I can get access to my pump supplies of limited to no cost with
Hmm.
while I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
So that's another big part of why I created this platform because I'm a great resource in this space. If I know another type 1 diabetic is going without, it doesn't matter where you are in this world, I'm going to do something to help you. If you told me you have no insulin, I'm going to get you insulin. You don't have any pump supplies, CGMs, we're going to make sure you get some. Whether you live here in my area, in Atlanta, in Uganda, I do that all around the world because I was once that person living with
Hmm.
diabetes and didn't have access to anything. I felt like I was living to die. Are you still having issues with getting your supplies that are needed?
No, it all kind of worked out in terms of getting married, getting on my husband's insurance, and then I did fortunately find another job. So it did all kind of land, but just in the midst of it, it felt overwhelming for sure.
Right. And you know that since it felt overwhelming for you, that you knew that other people may have been going through that same thing. So to be able
Hmm.
to express or tell your story on it may help other people along in their process.
Yeah, I think it's just like staying the course, not giving up, like reaching out to your community through, different groups online or maybe someone in person, sort of like how I shared Dawn was really helpful um, to me at that time. But it is just one of those things I had to work through. And, of course, being laid off or unemployed is a mentally tough time. So just balancing all those things was a lot, but made it to the other side.
Right. It's like anytime we're faced with an experience like that, it's so many other obstacles that are thrown at us.
Hmm.
So, I mean, to lose employment, fight insurance, those two will equally affect your blood sugar,
Yeah.
the stress of it in general, and then not knowing like when's the next, like when am I going to run out of insulin? Like I think we've all been there at some point in our lives where we, especially as adults living with diabetes, like what am I going to do if ever, like they say, a zombie apocalypse did occur?
Yeah,
Like
definitely have that thought.
what am
That
I going to, like I don't know. I mean, I do, but most people don't know like people that work in biomedicine, bioengineering who may be able to whip up something in a lab.
Hmm.
But it's like right now today we're living in a time period where there are shortages for insulin.
Yeah.
Things such as Humalog, Lispro, Eli Lilly in general did not let anyone know ahead of time. It was just like one day there's a shortage in insulin. Next thing you know, we're not going to be producing this and that anymore. And it's so much because to many people, Humalog is all they know. They've
Yeah.
been they've
So
been
your
taking,
body gets used to at a certain point.
yeah. And adjusting to another insulin is a whole nother traumatic experience. You may have to deal with highs or lows for multiple days.
Hmm.
Your body may not take that insulin. Like it may reject it. So what are they to do? try and figure out something else that's going to be more expense, more time consuming, all of those things.
Definitely.
And so you were diagnosed again at 18, your first year of college. How did that truly affect you and your studies, your social groups?
I think it had a really big impact on all of that. And because it was just a lot for me to take on and manage, it all kind of affected me like negatively, in terms of my studies, even me just navigating social groups, not really having the energy for it. I would most definitely say I felt that it took away some of, my freshman, beginning of college years experience for sure.
Right. So you didn't have the typical experience that most people have. It
Hmm.
was like college to you was like, sheesh, the me going to college, like also bring about this diabetes because of the traumatic experience that did occur, along with trying to get your studies in order and all of those things. I hope that whenever you were able to go back to school, that you were able to get like a sort of some sort of accommodations.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. Dealing with accommodations, learning like what those accommodations were. Some teachers really not respecting it. I remember like really battling with some teachers on simply just having to go to the bathroom or have a snack or something in class. Yeah, and that was just a lot to deal with, like, in tandem with the new diagnosis.
Diabetes is too much for an individual to have to deal with, especially with
Hmm.
that new diagnosis. So I do advocate for mental health coaching and counseling upon a diagnosis of any chronic health condition.
Yeah, it's important to
Ex-
include that.
because we truly don't know what's about to occur. We truly don't know the burdens and how it's going to affect our relationships, our studies, our employment, things like that. So if we know that there's millions of people that live with type 1 diabetes, there's millions of people that thrive with type 1 diabetes, why can't we be gifted that opportunity upon diagnosis instead of
Hmm.
struggling for so many years and having to figure it out on our own?
No, yes.
Like, where are those one pagers that tells you? I mean, you may not follow them all, the entire script, but I guarantee there's going to come a point in your life where something occurs and that one thing going to pop out and you're going to say, oh yeah, I remember that. This is what I should do. So the way I wrap up these meetings, I have there's two conversations that I want to have with you. So the first conversation I want to have with you is about your diagnosis.
Hmm.
Do you truly remember that the entirety of that story, like being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
Do I remember it in its entirety?
As
Um,
much
I think yes, but I think my blood sugar was so high at the time, so maybe I don't remember everything or as clearly as I could have if my blood sugar was in range. And I think I was also in denial, so maybe there's parts of the story or diagnosis that I can't even remember because I tried to like bury it away at the time.
And that's understood because like we've been speaking about trauma through the entirety of this conversation. So that is something that, I mean, that was a part of your healing journey,
Yeah.
being and moving past or moving forward in life.
Hmm.
And diabetes was a direct connection to that. So that diagnosis may bring up Also that traumatic experience, and that's
Mm,
not somewhere we choose to go. We do not want to go because you've grown from that.
yeah.
Look at you today. You got your Dexcom on,
Yep.
you got your Omnipod on.
Got it on, locked and loaded.
Look, you're locked and loaded, and you're ready for whatever. Look, there was many years where weren't able to have these things.
Yeah.
I didn't even, I mean, I can't even tell you like how long, like I did not know what a CGM was for many years. I remember
Mhm.
being at the pool and seeing people with like things on and like, what is that? Like, even as a person that was living with type 1 diabetes, because I didn't see anyone that looked like me that had those things,
Mhm.
those gadgets. So, I mean, it didn't seem as though they were readily available for me.
Yeah.
As much as we've learned and we've grown with diabetes today, and we will continue to grow and learn with it, I must ask you this question as we wrap up. So today, you've been living with type 1 diabetes for 12 years.
Yes.
Do you know when your anniversary is?
No, I don't. I know like around I think it's in like February, but I can't
Okay.
say the exact
So
date.
it's been more than 10 years since you were discharged from the hospital. Typically they get rid of medical records, but they don't get rid of intake or discharge. So
Okay.
if ever you want those, you can reach out to the medical records and they'll give them to you.
Good to know.
Yeah, so today, again, you've been living with type 1 diabetes for 12 years, and it's almost like you started a new life. You remember everything of your past, and you know how much diabetes has changed that, like it's truly changed the trajectory of what you were and who you are today.
For sure.
Diabetes, diabetes alters everything. Um, Good thing, like today, you're building a community. Today, you have a greater understanding of it. And what I want to ask you is today, after 12 years, if a magical unicorn came through and said, Jourdan, today, diabetes is gone. I mean, it's not giving you an option of having diabetes and not having diabetes. Diabetes is completely gone. This isn't any stem cell, anything derived from stem cells, anything like genetically modified. This is 100% like you hit me up and like, yo, Will, your diabetes gone? I hit up Don, your diabetes gone? All of our diabetes is gone. You wake up. What do you do at that point in time in life?
What do? I go out for the biggest sugary breakfast, all the things, and just eat.
Look, may eat for an entire day, huh?
Yep.
And that's the majority of the answers I get from people.
Will go eat. Eat something
Looks,
crazy.
look, I have people that are like, I'm going to get this huge slushy and
Yes, the slushy. I can't, yeah. Not I can't have those, but I don't really drink those.
right. But it's so many things that people who don't live with this chronic health condition don't truly understand. Like the
Mhm.
battles we go through. Like we truly go through battles just going outside and going for a walk.
Yeah.
Like most people when they're overly stimulated, they have so many different things that are current to them. And even when they're sick, people may say, go take a nap, go relax. Please don't tell me go take a nap and relax. If you don't know what my blood sugar is,
Right.
because that could be a live or die situation. And people who don't live with diabetes don't understand that. They're not gifted the opportunity to know that until they know someone like you or me.
Yes.
and they're actually walking with us day by day, understanding and learning these things. Living with type 1 diabetes is non-stop. It's forever. But someday I do hope that that magical unicorn does.
Like,
The,
I'll give you a
look,
call and say, what are you eating?
look, seriously, I hope that magical unicorn comes through, and even if it just shows its ass and gives me a day
That'll be
without
great.
diabetes, that would be amazing. I don't even need to go anywhere. Like, I don't need to hop on a plane and take a vacation. I just need some mental rejuvenation. That's it. Like, diabetes is a lot.
Hmm.
It's not all of us, and we wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but it is a lot.
For sure.
Is there anything we missed or anything that you need to add into this conversation?
No, I think today was great. I really enjoyed our conversation and can't wait to hear it again.
Look, and that will give you the opportunity to do the one thing that you said from the beginning that you're working on, being able to share with your people.
Yes.
You don't have to speak the words to them. Just tell them throw on a headset. Tell them they can cook dinner, they can wash dishes, and they can go out with you at any of these fine restaurants in Atlanta while you're blogging, while you're blogging,
Mhm.
and truly just listen and tap into what it is that Jourdan lives through.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jourdan, for joining me on the Chronically Will podcast, where we hold real conversations with community that need to be heard. Jourdan, you need to be heard.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.